Hi, I'm Camille Berto Quinn. I'm a doctoral student in special education and a speech language pathologist in an urban school district in the Midwest. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my main research areas of interest and which leaders are in the field that are leading this topic of interest. In a nutshell, this is where my research interests lie. I'm interested in disproportionality in special education and gifted education, equity in education, especially as it relates to instruction and assessment of African American students living in urban communities, the linguistic characteristics of the dialect African American Vernacular English, or AVE, and how all of this research works together to influence policy and practice in the field. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So my research goals are to analyze and develop a body of research that identifies typical and atypical language behaviors found in AVE, which could in turn have strong implications related to the over-identification of African Americans in special education and under-identification of African Americans in gifted education. So my current focus area is on the possibility that African American children and adolescents may be displaying language behaviors that are culturally different than their mainstream counterparts and are erroneously being deemed as a disability, leading to disproportionality in special and gifted education. So disproportionality is a discussion that has been ongoing for more than 30 years. The current leading experts in the field in regards to disproportionality are Dr. Alfredo Artiles, Dr. Donna Ford, and Dr. Russell Skiba, pictured here from left to right. Now I'm also going to include Dr. Paul Morgan on this list. He's pictured to the far right of your screen because although most lead experts in the field disagree with his recent findings and conclusions on disproportionality, that minority students are underrepresented in special education, his research has had clear impact on federal policy this past year, as evidenced by U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos's recent rulings regarding disproportionality. So I'm going to include Dr. Paul Morgan on this list. First, Dr. Alfredo Artiles has made a career of improving education and opening new avenues in learning for students across cultures. He was recently named the Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at Arizona State University. Dr. Artiles has authored more than 115 journal articles, books, or book chapters addressing educational inequities, improving education, and opening new avenues in learning for students across educational inequities, intersections of disability with socio-cultural differences and advanced policies, inclusive educational systems in multicultural contexts at the local, state, national, and international levels. He is the co-director of the Equity Alliance at School of Social Transformation and School of Transborder Studies in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. He's the co-editor of the book series Disability, Culture, and Equity, published by Teachers College Press in the International Multilingual Research Journal, established to promote equity, access, and social justice in education. He was named a Graduate Education Outstanding Doctoral Mentor and received the Faculty Google Award for Diversity and Inclusion in 2014. He's a recipient of the Palmer O. Johnson Memorial Award in 2012 from the American Educational Research Association, or AERA. He's advisor to the Civil Rights Projects at Harvard University and University of California, LA, the National Academy of Education, the Council for Exceptional Children, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. Foundation, and numerous projects housed at universities in the U.S., Europe, and Latin America. He's also been appointed to President Obama's Advisory Commission on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. In October 2017, Dr. Artiles was featured as the speaker at the 14th Annual AERA Brown Lecture in Education Research. The lecture was titled Re-envisioning Equity Research, Disability, Identification Disparities as a Case in Point. I was able to watch his presentation actually online, and it was inspirational. He charged us to focus on educational equity research that 1. Relies on a historical epistemology, 2. Produces collages of interdisciplinary representation of marginalized groups, and 3. Illuminates the intersectional life of marginalized people. Dr. Donna Ford. Now, it goes without saying that Dr. Donna Ford is my favorite, not just because I can self-identify with her so easily as an African American woman, but because she's an absolute firecracker on stage. She's deeply passionate about social justice and education reform for African American students, especially those in urban education. If you have not had the opportunity to hear her present, do yourself a favor and go do that right now. Dr. Ford is a professor of education and human development at Vanderbilt University. She teaches in the Department of Special Education, and she holds a joint appointment in the Department of Teaching and Learning. Dr. Ford has published more than 200 articles and books and at least 1,000 presentations at professional conferences, organizations, and in school districts on gifted education and educational psychology. She was actually spoke in my school district just a couple months ago. She also speaks on underachievement, identification and assessment, equity, social, emotional, and psychological development, and multicultural counseling. She also leads the charge in urban education and achievement gaps, cultural differences, multicultural education, culturally responsive education. Her research also focuses on cross-cultural child development, cross-cultural child rearing practice, and family values and traditions. Dr. Ford received the NAACP Image Award nomination for literature for her book, Recruiting and Retaining Culturally Different Students in Gifted Education. She's received the Outstanding Service Award, the Organization of Black Graduate and Professional Students at Vanderbilt University. She was named top 25 women in higher education in 2018 by Diverse Issues in Higher Education magazine. She received the W.E.B. Du Bois Higher Education Award at the National Alliance of Black School Educators annual conference in Tampa, 2017. In 2013, Dr. Ford co-founded Race Mentoring, which is a social media Facebook group. RACE is an acronym that stands for Research, Advocacy, Collaboration, and Empowerment. I actually am a part of this group. She invited me a couple months ago, and it's been very exciting to be able to sit under her because she's just a wealth of knowledge. The group is designed to tackle the numerous thorny and contentious issues and challenges in higher education experienced by people of color. The group intentionally attends to the needs of doctoral students enrolled at mostly white universities, as well as those who attend historically black colleges and universities, while keeping the unique nuances and challenges of each setting in mind. RACE's charge and challenge is to affirm the dignity and worth of scholars of color. The group also recognizes that there are scholars outside of academia, and their contributions are also acknowledged as having an impact on Black and Brown people inside and outside of academia. These scholars are community organizers, activists, school teachers, and families. Dr. Ford founded a race mentoring conference, which also has workshops and panel discussions on the unique challenges faced by scholars of color every year in July at Vanderbilt University. I'm hoping I can find a way to attend myself. Dr. Russell Skiba is another leader in the field. He's a professor in the school psychology program at Indiana University. He's an educational psychologist known for researching school discipline and school violence. Specifically, he looks at the overuse of exclusionary discipline and in particular factors that contribute to racial and ethnic disparities in exclusionary school discipline. Dr. Skiba has co-authored numerous articles and books with Dr. Alfredo Artiles, who was also featured early in this presentation. Dr. Russell Skiba is also a member of the writing team that produced the U.S. Department of Education's document on school safety called Early Warning, Timely Response. He's the director of the Equity Project at Indiana University, a consortium of federal, state, and foundation-funded grants providing evidence to practitioners and policymakers in the areas of school violence, zero tolerance, and equity in education. He's a member and lead author of the American Psychological Association's Task Force on Zero Tolerance. He testified before the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, both houses of Congress, and the National Academy of Sciences on issues of school discipline and school violence. He acted as a special consultant to OSIP on issues of disproportionality and equity in special education in 2008. He was awarded the Push for Excellence Award by the Rainbow Coalition, Operation Push, for his work on African American disproportionality in school suspension. He's been listed by Education Week as among the top 200 scholars in the nation influencing educational policy and practice. He served as a lead facilitator and organizer for the Discipline Disparities Research to Practice Collaborative, a group of 26 national educators, researchers, advocates, and policymakers who sought to advance the knowledge and practice with respect to the effect of and interventions for disparities in exclusionary discipline. Now, Dr. Paul Morgan is a professor of education at Pennsylvania State University, and he's the director of the Center for Educational Disparities Research at Penn State. He's a lead scholar in early risk factors for learning difficulties, interventions that may help young children experience greater academic success in the classroom, and why research should result in changes in federal level educational policy. Recently, he began publishing research that minority children are not over-identified as having a disability after accounting for other factors than race, ethnicity, or language use. In other words, his finding around disproportionality over the past few years have emphasized that minority children are less likely to be identified in special education than otherwise similar white or English-speaking children. Now, as you can imagine, his research has been highly controversial in the field and has been received with considerable disdain by experts like Dr. Artiles, Dr. Skiba, and Dr. Ford, who were talked about in this presentation. They have been outspoken about their disagreement of his analysis and conclusions. In fact, in 2015, Drs. Artiles and Skiba co-authored an article entitled Risks and Consequences of Oversimplifying Educational Inequities, a response to Morgan, to Dr. Morgan in particular, is what it's called, to specifically address his findings. That same year, Dr. Ford also published an article entitled Study on Black Hispanic Children in Special Ed, Wrong, Regressive, where she specifically addressed Dr. Morgan's claims that Black children are underrepresented in special education classes when compared with white children with similar levels of academic achievement, behavior, and family economic resources. Criticism of Dr. Morgan's research primarily cite his use of secondary data of students receiving special ed services. They've cited as problematic and not comprehensive. Dr. Artiles, Dr. Skiba, and Dr. Ford, as well as other leaders in the field, contend that Dr. Morgan's research is replete with flaws, omissions, and biases and should not be used to disregard and trivialize historical and contemporary long-standing work. Now, nonetheless, with all that said, Dr. Paul Morgan was awarded the most read educational research article of 2015 from the American Educational Research Association for his publication of Minorities Are Disproportionately Underrepresented in Special Education, a longitudinal evidence across 5 disability conditions. I personally have heard him speak. He was at the CEC conference as well this past year, where he's also presenting this research. So he's definitely a leader in the field. Whether you disagree or agree with him, he's a leader in this field right now. Also, Dr. Morgan's research is repeatedly cited in connection with U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos's delaying of the implementation this year that would have enforced the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act by requiring states to use a standard monitoring method to ensure that students of color are not unnecessarily placed into special education programs and are not unfairly or disproportionately suspended or expelled. Miss Betsy DeVos actually put a hold on that ruling, and she cited, or it's been cited, Dr. Paul Morgan's research, along with Dr. Farkas's research, is being cited as cause. And it's really fascinating right now in disproportionality in the research. Well, there you have it. Those are some of the leaders in the field on disproportionality: Dr. Ortiz, Dr. Ford, Dr. Skiba, and Dr. Morgan. And who knows? Maybe my name will be added to the list someday. Thanks for watching. See you next time.